Dino Dan here with Dynojet Research. If you've watched the other video production that is titled Power Core File Types, which are DJT, STK, and WP8 files, now's a good time to go over one of the awesome features in Power Core that I really enjoy using to analyze data and allow that data to help guide me during the tuning process. So let's just have a look here. I've got WinPEP 8 open at the moment, which is WinPEP 8 Data. You'll notice there are two different WinPEP 8 applications. One is for dyno control, one is for data analysis. So in this production, we're going to focus on WinPEP 8 and C3 tuning software. Right now, we are currently viewing WinPEP 8. So for me, I want to open a couple of log files that I have recorded while on the dyno utilizing a PowerVision 3 connected to a vehicle where a DJT has actually been flashed to the ECU. And that's a very important point. A DJT, which is a Dynojet tune file, must be flashed to the vehicle's ECU in order to get these custom channels bubbled up and accessible in WinPEP 8. So I'm going to open one more log file here. I think I've got 3 different folders, and I want to say I'm missing one file. So there it is. So you can actually double click from Windows Explorer and Power Core will open it in the appropriate application, or you can just use the home open dialog to go and find that file. So right now I've got some channels already populated, and obviously this power drum, so to select a Y axis, so this is Y1, Y2, Y3, Y4, Y5, Y6. So on Y1, I'm going to select drum power. So obviously this came from the dyno network. These two, engine speed and ignition timing, actually came from the vehicle network. So they were broadcasted over the vehicle bus through the PowerVision and ultimately into a log file, which is now loaded into this environment. And we're going to use to kind of take a look and see how this vehicle is running. In the meantime, over here in C3, I have a file open. Again, if you're familiar with the production I did on Power Core file types, this happens to be an STK file, which is an original file from the vehicle. And here's a quick tune file. So bear with me while I have a look at some things here. We're going to open up VE. So here's a little tip and trick that I love to use. I find it very helpful. A lot of the times I notice everyone looking at the trace view, which is fantastic. It can show an operator, a user, a tuner, a fair bit of information, but it can get very busy since you again have up to 6 different axes, and I've made some shortcuts up here or accessible from this area on the ribbon: single graph, double graph, triple graph. And again, we don't even have Y3, Y4, and Y5 populated. There's another display here, which is called grid view. So grid view I find to be very helpful. And I want to share with you a trick to help you review data and again, make better decisions on your tune and as you go through your tuning process. So here's the trick. From Dyno Dan to you, hold your control key on your keyboard, and while you have WinPEP 8 open with log files and a tune file open, and it's a very important note that I should note, this file was flashed to the ECU when these logs were created. Okay, so you want to keep track of the log files and where they were derived from. They were derived from this particular tune that was flashed to this 2018 Maverick X3. Okay, that's a very important thing to note. So again, we're going to hold the control key, and I'm going to left click on volumetric efficiency. And notice over here in this environment in WinPEP 8, I've got the y-axis and x-axis along with all of the breakpoints and the values for each breakpoint along the x and y axes that emulates or mirrors perfectly the VE table. Now this will work for any table, right? I'm holding the control key over here on my keyboard, and I am just picking random tables. And you'll see that in WinPEP 8, as long as I have the control key down, this will follow my mouse clicks and automatically populate this grid view. So back to VE. This is a common table that most tuners and calibrators are going to be engaged with during the tuning process. So as a Z component to this grid, I can select any valid value. I just happen to be looking at, well, let's change it to ignition timing 3. Okay. Here is a grid view of all of the timing values throughout the RPM and map range of this vehicle that are represented in these logs. So you can see these little trending dots and also the respective value at each operating condition. So why this is so helpful is this is what you are telling the ECU to do. This is what the ECU actually did do. So if you see some anomalies, you see something you don't like, sometimes it's easier to visualize and to have that data presented to you in this fashion opposed to this fashion. So we'll go here and go to ignition timing cylinder 3. Okay, so that I find super helpful. I hope you do too. Next piece I find exceedingly helpful, and this has 2 use cases. This cursor over here in C3, this little blue cursor, you can easily turn that on and off. And during a post process of reviewing data logs, this cursor will actually move with your mouse clicks on the trace view. So you can see every time I make a left click on the trace or graph view in WinPEP 8 Data Center, this cursor is basically showing me the value, the exact cell and the respective value in that cell as I select over here on the graph view. And this is the case for any table I want to be looking at right now. Okay, so here's a pedal to requested torque. Looks like I pretty much stood on it, right? So it went to 100%. And then obviously RPM increases throughout the dyno run. And bear with me while my computer plays catch up. There we go. All right, now we're out to 8,000 RPMs. We were just down here at, a very low RPM. So this is very helpful in keeping track and giving you focus on the area that the ECU is actually pulling its data from at the time in which it was recorded. So very powerful set of tools in Power Core. Again, the first trick and tip was during grid view, hold that control key, pick a table that you're interested in, and it automatically populates. Really cool. All right, the other tip or trick is also to enable the cell tracing, and you will have a cell trace that moves as you select different points on your graph. If you were on the dyno in a live environment, this cell tracing actually will be moving live. So as long as data is streaming, you can see exactly where the ECU is pulling its data from. So very helpful stuff. I hope you find it helpful too. Hopefully you followed along and I was as clear as mud perhaps, but hopefully that made sense. I'll see you on the next episode, and thanks for watching.